Okay. Yes. Yes, I started the recording. Yeah. So Ayurveda, a lot of brief shlokas and sutras, which kind of give us a very, in a crisp language, the gist of the thing that they are trying to talk about. So maintaining the health of the healthy and curing the disease. The atur means basically a diseased person. Curing the disease is the main aim of Ayurveda. Prevention is better than cure. So that our first two chapters in any Ayurvedic text deals with how to keep the healthy people healthy, how to continue to keep the healthy people healthy. So then this goes along with Dincharya and Ritucharya. Dincharya is what is our daily regimen. Now, with whatever is written in the texts.
जयती गोस्वामी म्हणून कोण आहे ना?
Sorry.
आयुर्वेद.
Hello. Should I
think you can continue.
Yeah. Let me put all the participants on mute. I think that will be better.
Yeah, participants, please mute yourselves.
Please mute yourselves. Yeah. Yeah. So, Dincharya is the daily regimen and Ritucharya is a seasonal regimen. Now, a lot of this is difficult to follow because with our lifestyles, but whatever we can follow, we should try to make an attempt. And whenever we cannot follow, there are always options to come closer to whatever is recommended. So that's about Dincharya. So I'll briefly walk through Dincharya and Ritucharya. I don't know why this is not going to the next slide. Yeah. So some of the common myths about Ayurveda. The first myth is that it does not have any side effects. Now, this is very, very, very incorrect. A lot of these drugs have a lot of side effects, especially there are a lot of preparations in Ayurveda where metallic drugs are used, metallic preparations are used. So in supervision with an Ayurvedic doctor, what happens is they are usually given for a small duration when the disease is at the peak, and then it is stopped. But what happens, we see a lot of patients who tend to continue with those metallic preparations thinking that they'd have no side effects. Like commonest are, maybe Chandra Prabhavati. A lot of people keep taking this tablet for diabetes and they have been taking it for years together, and then they end up with some other complications like some kidney deposits and renal complications, hypertensions and all, because of a long duration in which they are taking these drugs. Takes a long time to heal. That is another myth. So if the selection of the drug is correct, usually Ayurvedic drugs give a quick result. And there are a lot of methodologies, like, in Panchakarma, we use Nasya. Nasya therapy is administering drugs through the nasal route, or, Basti, administering the drugs through the rectal route, where the results are faster. Even acute conditions, right now, a lot of people have been treated with COVID with only Ayurvedic treatment, and it has given a good result. Only thing where Ayurvedic practitioners lack is we don't document them well enough, so that we don't have the, evidence base behind it. But it is good for acute conditions also. Panchakarma is massage therapy. This is far from the truth. Panchakarma is 5 karma, and massage does not form a part of Panchakarma. So basically, Panchakarma has 5 therapies: Nasya, Raktamokshan, Vaman, Virechan, and Basti. These form and part of the Panchakarma therapy. And what is massage is Snehan, which is given oleation of the body just before the Panchakarma is done. So Panchakarma is not massage therapy. A lot of Ayurvedic centers are now promoting Panchakarma as massage just to get more market share and more of, patients coming to it, because everybody likes to have a nice massage, and, they charge a lot of money for all this. And it's kind of a marketing gimmick, but Panchakarma is not massage therapy. Second is, a lot of people think that you have to be a strict vegetarian to take Ayurvedic medicines. So Ayurvedic acharyas have recommended a lot of types of meats within their diet as well. They have segregated meats as, domesticated animals and, the wild animals, and given the properties of each meat. So there are different disease conditions where they have recommended that you should not take meat, and different disease conditions where they have recommended that you should be taking meat. So again, there is no such rule that you have to be a vegetarian to be taking Ayurvedic medicines. Again, Ayurvedic medicines do not have an expiry date. That is also not true. Most of the churnas you buy, they have expiry date of 6 months. Churnas or tablets, the powdered medicines that you buy, they should be consumed within 6 months of the manufacturing date, because after that they lose most of their efficacy. So whenever a chemist is trying to sell you some Ayurvedic medicine saying that it does not have an expiry date and you can take this medicine because it's Ayurveda, that's not true. But the Asav and Arisht, those drugs, the liquids, Asav, Arisht have alcohol in them. So they have a longer expiry date, and the older they are, the better. Even the kadhas, the quats that they call kashayams in Malayalam, in the south they call it kashayam, they also should be consumed within 6 months of manufacture. Otherwise, they have some self-generated alcohol, which is not desirable. So again, that anything that is herbal is Ayurveda, that also is not true. So nowadays you hear a lot of people marketing moringa leaves. Moringa is nothing but a drumstick.
Somebody will have to please mute your.
Yeah.
1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So anything that is herbal is Ayurveda. So moringa, have you heard of it? A lot of capsules in the US, it's a fad. People are buying moringa leaves. That's nothing but our drumstick. So it's a better idea to include drumstick in your diet than, having extracts of moringa leaves and putting them in a capsule and eating them. The last point which I have listed, that they can be easily bought over the counter. This is very much true. It's not a myth. It is bought easily over the counter, and which is unfortunately for some medicines it's a good practice. For some medicines it should not be sold over the counter, especially the ones that contain metals. They should be restricted, but that is not part of the regulations at present. Hopefully it will come down sometime in the future. So Prakriti and Ayurveda. So this is something, Prakriti is how people are diagnosed. A lot of new diseases are coming up. COVID has been the latest one. Ayurveda practitioners usually are able to treat patients based on the Prakriti of the patient. So people are classified into Vat, Pitta or Kapha Prakritis. So Prakriti is a state of an individual in his natural form. And this is determined at birth. So genetically, we can consider this as the anatomical, physiological, and the psychological constitution of an individual. So as I said, there are 3 Prakritis, Vat, Pitta and Kapha, and combination of the 3 Prakritis. So there can be a combination of Vat, Pitta, Kapha, and Kapha, Pitta. So combination of these, that forms another 3 Prakritis, and then a combination of all 6 of them. All 3 of them in equal proportion. So Pitta Kapha will be somebody who probably has 60-70% of Pitta and maybe just 30 or 40% of Kapha, and so on and so forth. So that is how we form all the 7 Prakriti. And treatment and dietary advice and exercise. So for example, for a Kapha Prakriti person, we usually recommend that you should exercise more. But for a Vata Prakriti person, we usually say keep your exercise limited. It should not be too vigorous, because that is not suitable for a Vata Prakriti person. So that forms a pillar of Ayurveda, Vata, Pitta, Kapha Prakriti. Even the dietary advice. So somebody with a Kapha Prakriti, we tell them, okay, you should be taking oil or ghee in so and so quantity. But somebody with Vata Prakriti is encouraged to take more of oil and ghee in their diet. So for Vata, we usually generally tend to tell them that oil should be more. Whereas for Pitta Prakriti, we recommend ghee or clarified butter. So that is how the recommendations go on. And then another thing is Anupan. Anupan is the vehicle in which drugs are administered. So this also varies based on the Prakriti of an individual. Some drugs are administered with honey, some with warm water, some maybe with just some kadha, or some maybe with just, you wash rice and the water that comes out, with that also we administer drugs. So that Anupan is important in getting the right efficacy of the drug. I will move shortly to 2-3 slides I have on Dincharya and Ritucharya. Now, all these we know is difficult to follow given our time zone, but I'll just give a few tips over here on how we can make it easy for our, whatever is not possible, what are the possible, solutions to that. So we all know that getting up in Brahma Muhurt is important. Brahma Muhurt is the best time for gaining knowledge. That is just 1 to 1.5 hours before sunrise. Now, current Mumbai sunrise time is around 7 a.m. So we should get up by 6 or 6:30. That is the ideal time. 5:30 is the best, but if not, by 6:30 latest, we should get up. Now, what happens for all the people who are working late in the night, 11:30? What should they do? So Ayurveda recommends that they should still get up at 5:30 or 6, but to catch up on the sleep, a better idea is to sleep just before lunchtime. So maybe you get up at 5:36 and do all your routine work, and then go back to sleep around 11:30 just before you have your lunch, and cover up for the time lost by sleeping late or by getting up too early. That is one of the solutions. Then after getting up, what we usually do is answering nature's call. Now here, constipation is one of the biggest problems people have, and sluggish digestion is one of the reasons. Now, a lot of people keep taking over-the-counter medicines, and before taking any over-the-counter, and usually these are herbal. Some Ayurvedic powders they are taking. Now, what could be the good or bad points of this? Now, if you have a sluggish digestion, what we usually recommend, take a glass of warm water. Most of you would be knowing it, but by listening to somebody saying it just reiterates that fact that, okay, I should be taking a glass of water. Then assess your diet. If you're constipated, it's more than likely that something is wrong with the diet. Maybe your water intake maybe is less. Maybe you should start having tea with ginger. So ginger also helps to stimulate your intestines, to your bowels to move faster. Some things that you could include in your diet are raisins, that is kishmish or anjeer. So these are help to, make the bowel movement easier. Yashti Madhu is another over-the-counter drug that you will find in any grocery shop. Mulethi powder, it is called mulethi in Hindi or Marathi. JT Mad in Marathi. So you can take a spoon of that in the morning or at bedtime. So these are very mild effects. So they are not purgatives per se, but they are laxatives. They help you to have one clear motion in the morning. Ripe bananas is something you can include in your diet. Triphala is something usually I tell people to always keep in their home because it has multiple uses for oral use, for external use, multiple uses. So the Triphala is something you can take just one. So this is again a very mild laxative. One thing I see many people doing is using a lot of Senna. A lot of these allopathic companies have the multinationals, like Novartis, they all have some Senna preparation, Senna-Coat, and so many drugs with the brand name. So Senna is nothing but Sonamukhi. It's a herb that grows. Kayam Churna, most of you may have heard it. People have been taking it regularly. This is usually not recommended for long-term use. Why? Because first, it makes the movement of the intestines a little sluggish. There are some instances when it reduces the potassium levels in the body. And especially people with kidney disorders should not be taking it. It reduces the intestinal motility over long-term use. So Senna is not something which in a raw format, in the commercial format in which it is today available, most Ayurvedic doctors don't prescribe Senna for a long time use, and they don't even use any of the commercial preparations. So usually our method of providing laxative is a combination of some oil or some powders, maybe just simple Harade powders fried in castor oil. So that's how we give our prescriptions for constipation. This we know, Danta Dhavan. Now, this is not, Danta Dhavan is simple brushing of the teeth. We know this is not possible just for, academic interest. Neem twigs are sold on Amazon for 100 rupees. It ranges between 85 to 200 rupees, the neem twigs, which we are royally ignoring. But for some people who have some gum problem or some inflammation on the gums, Triphala is one powder which I recommend everybody. Like I just said, you can just massage your gums with Triphala powder, and this helps externally. Yeah. Then these are some of the other recommendations which have been told in Dincharya. You should do your tongue scraping, Jivha Nidlekan, that is called. Gandush or gargling, during this COVID times, they have told us to do a lot of gandush. So gandush is nothing but holding something fluid, medicated fluid into your mouth. Gargling is when you swallow it and you swish it around your throat, and gandush is holding it in your mouth. So this helps in a lot of other conditions as well. It could be simple til oil, milk, even Triphala Kadha. We usually recommend when there are some inflammatory sores in the mouth. Triphala Kadha is something good that can be used for gandush. Now, this, although recommended in Dincharya, this is not something we do regularly or which is needed to be done regularly. But this is something. It is a good to know. When there are some minor ulcers in the mouth, just use some Triphala and gargle with it. That helps. Dhupan or fumigation. Now, medicated herbal smoke. This is something when we all do aarti, say camphor. We all, that Shunda aarti that we do, camphor is a good thing. Then burning dried leaves of neem. So this helps to keep the atmosphere clean as well as, keep mosquitoes away. Both ways it works. So this is something we should be practicing on a daily basis if possible. Then again, Nasya. Nasya is putting nasal oil in the drops. So although it can be done regularly, but most of us don't have the time for it. But, for people who are prone to allergies and colds, using some nasal drops, medicated nasal drops instilled in the nose helps to, the nasal mucosa. It helps to strengthen it, the nasal mucosa, and helps to keep those allergies at bay. Sometimes even plain ghee, homemade ghee, good quality ghee, if you instill in the nasal drops, as nasal drops, 1 or 2 drops, not too much, helps to keep general allergies away. Even people with chronic sinusitis, this helps to, the Nasya therapy helps. In Ayurveda, we have a shlok called Nasahi Shiraso Dwaram, which means the nostrils are the pathway to any diseases above the head, neck, and throat. So what is today ENT? So ENT specialists in Ayurveda use a lot of Nasya. Vyayam or exercise, preferably yoga. And then abhyang or oil massage, regular, especially in the winters. Any sarson ka tel or til oil daily can be applied to the body. Now, after Dincharya, something I want to touch upon is Ritucharya, that is seasonal regimens. Am I going too fast or is it fine? You want me to slow down? Any questions?
I think you're good.
It's okay. So I'll continue.
No, the speed is absolutely fine, Dr. Jyoti. It's absolutely fine.
Okay, thank you. Ritucharya, so for those teaching your children, Uttarayan and Dakshinayan, we always teach our children that the journey of the sun from the Tropic of Capricorn to Tropic of Cancer. This is the season when now the season we are in is part of Uttarayan. So this starts from Sankranti. 14th, mid-January, around 14 January is the Sankranti period. From this till mid-July is the Sankranti, after Sankranti is the Uttarayan period. So this is the season when the sun is more powerful. That is why it's a northward journey of the sun. So it is called Uttarayan. Now this season, there are 3 seasons that come in this. This is Shishir, Vasant and Grishma, which is winter, spring and summer. So what happens? So any of the vegetables or the fruits that you are eating in this season have an increase in bitter, astringent and pungent taste. So you will see this is the season when you get more of Karela, you get Aamla, you will have all those pungent taste vegetables and fruits coming in the market. And so also our body is also the same. So what happens at this time in our bodies, there's more of dryness and the strength keeps gradually reducing. Summers, you will always feel your strength is more reduced than in the winters. And Dakshinayan is the southward movement of the sun, like it from the Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn. So this is typically from mid-July to mid-January again. So 2 parts of the seasonal variations. And then you have Varsha, that is the monsoon season, the autumn and the late autumn. Again, all the vegetables, fruits in this season, you will find more of sour, salty, and sweet rasa predominant. And the strength of the person during this is usually enhanced. So winters are usually a period of the time when you are kind of more, between December, mid-December, January, you are kind of healthier and you are more, energetic. And this is some of the to-dos and to-don'ts and don'ts of this season. So Vasant is spring season. So what happens usually, so currently we are in the spring season. The weather is nice, things are good, but you will find some people having runny nose. And this is because there's increased cough. So cough accumulates in the Hemant season, that is the winters. And this, because once the sun starts shining brightly, that cough tends to get out of your body. And if this is not accompanied with fever, or there's nothing much to do, just follow your seasonal regimen, have your diet as prescribed, And what should you do in this season? Strength of the body is moderate. It's not like that you're very strong. It's moderate. So you should have the normal stuff: rice, wheat, honey. These you can have a lot of ginger and haldi and tulsi and neem in this season. What you should avoid is cold drinks, foods, lot of sweets prepared from milk, and curds should be avoided. Meat in excess. Urad dal is heavy, so you should avoid sleeping during the day. Now, there is other seasons where we are recommending sleeping during the day, but during the spring season, we usually say avoid sleeping during the day. Then after this season comes the summer season, that is the Grishma season. What is this period? This season is, we usually, the diet pretty much remains the same, but you should add things like, you get raw mangoes start coming in. So you're having those aam panas with jaggery, having seasoned buttermilk. Buttermilk is very good for having in summers, all the sharbats. Then in the buttermilk, you should have a little bit of pepper and jeera and sunti in it. Sunti, that is dried ginger. Khas is something again that can be incorporated in our daily routines during the summer season. So what we do is you get these twigs of khas in the market, just put it in your matka, and that water has a coolant effect on the body. A lot. I mean, I do that regularly. Just keep a twig of khas in the matka. So that is helpful. Again, you should avoid too much of spice. In this season, summers, usually your appetite is also low. So if your appetite is low, there is no need to really indulge yourself in too much of meat and spicy and foods. And again, alcohol should be avoided. Winters, like, it is recommended, but in summers, it is out. You are told to avoid alcohol. Then excess of salt, spicy food has to be avoided. So that is from I'm getting this. Then after the Grishma comes the summer season. So again, summer season, what has been said in our text is you must avoid fermented preparations, avoid again excess of wines, heavy diet, salt, and contaminated water. So a lot of people have the habit of drinking boiled water. This is one season where it is recommended to drink boiled water. Other seasons you may or may not, but in the monsoon season, it is recommended to have boiled water. Include a little bit of honey in your diet, and sendav lavan is good. These are, and then again, this is the season when your digestion seems to go a little out of control. You are not able to digest as much. So eat only when you're hungry. If not, you can just keep your diet restricted. And autumn season, again, pretty much the same, but avoid sour and fermented foods. Excess of fish is avoided. Why is it so? Autumn season usually comes around the mid-August period. And that time, if you see, we have this in Maharashtra, we follow Shravan Mahina, where 1 month people are avoiding fish and all these things. I know it's very difficult with Bengalis, but that's something, it is part of a culture. I think it's good to avoid fish in this particular season. Then late Hemant is the winter season. Now here we are recommending that you should eat a lot of heavy diet. Your diet should have a lot of non-vegetarian stuff, meat, chicken for the non-vegetarians, and a lot of ghee. Anything that's heavy to digest, because your digestive fires are strong. So you should be able to digest anything that you take. So you can eat a heavy meal during this winter season. So winter Hemant is the period that starts from November and goes up pretty much till February, mid-February. So this is a time when you have till, milk products, sesame oil, a lot of fats, vegetables, seasonal vegetables. And you should avoid fasting. Exposure to cold and light and dry food is avoided during this season. So if for breakfast, if you're usually having poha, maybe in this season you can have parathas with ghee, in the winter seasons, and pohas you can keep for the summers when it is, you're recommending a lighter diet. And immunity has been a lot in the talks. So that was about Dincharya and Ritucharya. So in short, basically in Dincharya and Ritucharya, what we should do is, based on the season, keep your diet. A few things to remember is in the summer season, have these, these buttermilk and aam panna and all that thing, and have heavy food during the winters. And in the rainy season, keep your diet in, minimal check and, boiled water and all those things. Avoid eating out and all that. Immunity, also known as ojas or vital energy in Ayurveda. So we get it naturally from our parents, and some of it is developed. So we see a lot of people, I mean, having a lot of glucose biscuits and maida things for breakfast. That brings your immunity towards a downward trend. Now, there's been a lot of talk on immunity during these COVID times. Everybody's selling some immunity product like Chyawanprash and all that. While they are good, but immunity can be acquired by good diet, good sleep, and good conduct. And the drugs that we normally use is Amla. Now, how do we use Amla? A lot of people are recommending Chyawanprash. Chyawanprash is good, but again, people who are not able to digest, maybe you can just, during the 2-3 months when Amla is available fresh, just bring fresh Amla, grate it, and squeeze out the root juice and take around 4-5 Amlas every day. So that helps you to get the vitamin C for the entire year. So one single Amla contains almost 600 milligrams of vitamin C, which you don't get from any other external source. So Amla is one of the best sources of vitamin C, and we should make the most of it. Then, in fact, in Ayurveda, Rasayan, when they talk about Rasayan or, immunity boosters, Amla is the first drug that comes, and there are a lot of nice stories in Ayurveda about Amla. They say somebody who wants to live long should be taking Amla every day. They can go into a forest of Amla and, sit and just eat Amlas to live forever. That is the extreme stories that they have given about Amla. Then some other drugs which can be immunity boosters are Haritaki, Pipli, Shilajit, Brahmi, Triphala. Triphala again is a combination of Amla, Harde, and Baheda. So depending on many conditions, it can be given as a supplement. Guduchi is another herb which can grow in our plants. Guduchi and all these all help to increase immunity. But more than that, it is how you take your diet and, keep it regular. Your food habits should be regular. Food is the most important thing. Food is the best immunity booster. I wanted to touch a little bit about Panchakarma. Am I running out of time? I hope not, right?
It's
Yeah.
half
Just
an
around
hour.
2-3, half an hour, right? So I'll just go quickly on the next few slides and I'll just open it up for questions. Panchakarma is not massage. Sorry, Urmi, you were saying something.
Do we have time, Varna?
Maybe I'll just finish this and then I can probably, I've just put a list of all the herbs that are found in the kitchen. I can share the slide.
Absolutely. Please, Dr. Jayati, go on.
Okay, Panchakarma, I just wanted to say, is not massage. It is 5 therapies that we do: Nasya, Vaman, Virechan, Basti, and Rakta Mokshan. Now, this helps to remove toxins from the body. Like, for example, in spring season, people who are having chronic skin disease and all, you will find a lot of Vaidyas prescribing Vaman. Vaman is inducing emesis or vomiting. So there's a procedure that is followed. For 7 days, you are given ghee and internally as well as externally. So your oral intake of ghee in incremental doses for 6 or 7 days and an external massage. And then you're given Vaman. So that helps you eliminate a lot of toxins from the body. Virechan is purgation. So that means you're given drugs or tablets which helps you to eliminate through your as a purgative. So we have done these procedures on patients with chronic skin conditions like psoriasis and all, and it is extremely helpful. And when you're doing this Virechan, there are people who have had 20 to 25 loose motions without any symptoms of dehydration. So this happens because there is a prerequisite for all these Panchakarma therapies. So there is a prerequisite means Snehan and Swedan, which is external, internal as well as external oil therapy, and fermentation of the entire body. You must have seen those big petis which Vaidyas have in their clinics. Those petis have, you just sit inside. And it's a nice feeling. You get your entire body gets that steam, and with herbal steam, and you get that fermentation. And that is a prerequisite for doing any Panchakarma. Then we have Basti. Basti is another interesting system wherein you are given drugs to the anal root. So generally, the enema that is considered as, they generally give soap water enema. For us, Basti means drugs administered to the anal root. So all the medicines that are given through the mouth are also administered through the anal root. That includes oils, some kadhas also. Rakta Mokshan is again, we use some syringes to draw blood from the body to whenever there are some blood disorders. Then these are procedures to remove toxins from the body, and this is done under supervision of a Vaidya. And this is not always recommended. Panchakarma is only in that situation when normal medicines may not help to cure the disorder. So that is about Panchakarma. My rest of the slides are all about the simple herbs that we have in our kitchen. I'm just running through them. Do we want to stop and take some questions?
Jayati,
Sorry. Yeah.
I think you have put in that meeting doesn't have a time limit. So
Yeah.
I think people will like to see the slides of those home remedies.
Okay.
Don't skip them. Maybe
Okay.
a little in short, show them.
Okay. So yeah. So
we can go on and have some questions. Definitely. Durmi.
okay. You want me to stop for questions?
No, take the questions at
No,
the
no.
end.
Jayati, Dr. Jayati, please go on. We can
Okay.
extend the session is what I'm saying. Please
I
go on.
said that the session is can get extended on its
Okay.
own.
Okay.
Na?
Okay.
So
Okay.
don't skip the slides.
Okay. Yeah. So this is something that is found in the kitchen. Adrak salt. So how do we use it? 5 grams, just crush it and then take with salt or some jaggery. So these are, so if you are having indigestion, the first thing is usually we recommend you fast for a few hours. Indigestion usually happens when you're overeating. So just don't eat for some time and then use these simple things for, for taking care of the problem. Then hoarseness of voice also, you can take it with honey. Then some aches and pains. Now, aches and pains, usually we recommend drugs, but this is kind of a supplement. So whenever we are formulating a diet plan, we usually take these small things into consideration when formulating a diet plan. So if you are suggesting a diet, so we'll say you include more of adrak or salt in your diet. Or somebody with chronic asthma, we will say you have more of kali mirchi and cough in your. So when you're cooking, we usually take these considerations into our this thing. Headache also, warm paste can be applied over the forehead, and abdominal pain, again, it is taken with buttermilk, 5 ml of the juice. Then ajwain is another thing. Ajwain, so piles has the primary cause of piles is usually constipation. So that is treated in a different way with some laxatives, but then having a spoon of ajwain with black salt, that kala namak with buttermilk twice a day, helps to improve the digestion process. Then abdominal pain also, we give it with lukewarm water, ajwain seeds. Even in fact, when I was talking about the dhupan earlier, ajwain seeds, when you can take steam inhalation of that, just burn it with the seeds. What we call the arti, what we use, camphor and ajwain together. If you burn it and take steam inhalation, that is also helpful when you're having a stuffy nose and all that. Then flatulence, we all have been using this ajwain powder. Sinusitis also, it can be used as a warm paste. Loss of appetite, you can combine it with sunt powder. And half spoon of ajwain and sunt and some warm water and take it before the meal. So it helps to increase your appetite also. So more than doing these directly, so like somebody in the house is having some stomach problem, we as most of us, since most of us are ladies over here, we generally drop in, when you're giving that forni in your in your cooking, you just put a few seeds of ajwain and all. So that helps to take care of the abdominal pain and loss of appetite. If it is something mild, if it's something major, then of course you'll have to consult your. Now, kali mirch is generally used in a lot of cough kind of problems, like for example, hoarseness of the voice, or people who are chronically suffering from asthma, or in children who are having cold very often. We use a lot of kali mirch or black pepper. So this is listed out the different ways in which it can be taken. Mainly for cough and a blocked nose, you can just have 1 gram of the powder and take it with ghee and honey. I know when during colds, what a lot of Bengali families, what they do is they'll do this roshun bhat. So basically, in a spoon of ghee, you put in some seeds of kali mirch and the roshun, that is apna lasun, and fry it.
Garlic.
So that is garlic, yeah, that is tasty, as well as and a little salt. So that's tasty. It helps to improve the taste in your mind and in your mouth, and it feels good. So that is where we use Kali Mirch a lot. So now these are things that it's not that when you're having these problems you run, but if you know some of these applications, what happens is when you're cooking, you're more aware of these things and you try to use these things while you're cooking itself. Indigestion, again, it's taken with ginger and rock salt. You can also combine it with Kali Mirch and with ajwain and sont. Sont is something which is very highly used in sont. We also do what we do is we ask our patients to mix it with jaggery and create balls. A lot of people cannot take sont directly because it's too it's got a very pungent taste. So we ask them to mix it with jaggery, create small balls out of it, and just swallow it twice a day. In the winters, in fact, you find a lot of people making all these laddus and all. They all put a lot of sont in it. That strong taste comes in, and that's good for your digestion. Now, pomegranate is again a very good fruit to be taken in multiple reasons. People suffering from piles, even the skin of it is useful. People who are anemic, we ask them to take pomegranate seeds directly. People with stomach problems. In fact, there are medicines called Dadi Mavleha and all that. You need not take that. Just take pomegranate juice directly. For any stomach disorders, stomach disorders, we'll probably ask the person to fast for a few days and just go on pomegranate. It's that helpful. In diarrhea, just decoction of in diarrhea along with the medicines the doctor is giving you, supplement your diet with things like pomegranate and apple, and your recovery will be faster. In fact, sometimes if it's because of indigestion, if you go on a fast and don't take any medicines and try to take pomegranate, maybe that also is good enough. People who are chronically suffering from hyperacidity. Somebody's mic is on.
Whose
Can you go on mute?
mic is on?
Now everybody's off. Okay. Okay. Then even in hyperacidity, there's an echo companies. Can you switch on? Can you go on mute, please? Yeah, hyperacidity also, having a regular 1 bowl of pomegranate. Only thing difficult over here is peeling it. Otherwise, pomegranate is a very, very good fruit for, taking on regular basis. Okay, then what else do I have? I have dalchini. Dalchini is again, Bengali garam masala has it. So it comes with almost in all cooking dalchini, garam masala is there. So it's a very useful, spice to be included in our diet. Use it for indigestion. You can use it for loss of appetite along with ajwain. You can use it for when there's vomiting with honey thrice a day. Then even in dry cough, you can just keep chewing it. It is known to have some anti-diabetic properties also. People who are not getting sleep, it's kind of relaxing. You can have half a teaspoon of it before going to sleep. Amla, I already spoke. People who are diabetes should take, at least 10 to 20 ml of the fruit juice while it's available fresh twice a day. Take it with haldi. Amla and haldi regularly for a long period of time is an extremely good remedy for, as a supplement, as a dietary supplement. I wouldn't say it's a cure, but as a dietary supplement. So Amla is our favorite for everything. Whenever possible, never lose an opportunity to, have Amla. You can make sharbat out of it. This season, I also made Amla pickles. You can make sharbat by, making a pulp out of it, boil it, make a pulp out of it, mix it with jaggery and some salt, and, and keep it in the fridge for some time with some kala namak and all that, jeera. It tastes very good if you're making Amla sharbat. A lot of online recipes available. That is one. General health, Amla, anywhere, anyhow, dry, wet, however you can use it, make the maximum use of it. We cannot, stress less on this. Jeera is again something we are using in our daily diet. So you can just read it up over here. Indigestion, diarrhea, dysentery, we are using 1 or 2 grams. Fried jeera with buttermilk. Use it in summer seasons. Use it in all your buttermilk. Summer seasons, even in the winters, we usually recommend to have more of buttermilk rather than curds. So, just make a big liter of buttermilk during summer season, keep it in the fridge. Whoever's thirsty, just come and have buttermilk. That's something which is always good. Dhania is another herb, dhania seeds that we have. People who are suffering from recurrent urinary tract infections, we ask them to take half a teaspoon of dhania, sof, and mishri, that khadi shakar, that is all. Soak it and then strain that water and have 2 glasses of water. So that helps, that works as an alkalizer for your urine. When there are a lot of, generally women have a lot of urinary tract infections. So this helps as a supplement along with your drugs to get quicker relief. Sometimes even during summers when you have a lot of burning sensation in your urine, just take 1 spoon of dhania, sof, and mishri, and have that. No need to boil it, just strain it after a few hours and have that twice a day. Sunstroke, dehydration, I think this is something which most of us are already using. We have a lot of dhania and sof. Especially among Bengalis, this is very popular. Modu Mishri, Mohri Jal is very popular among dongs. So this is something that can be used. Lasun, flatulence, we are using it. Cough, cold, like I earlier mentioned, it can be fried and ghee and take. Ear pain, I will not recommend it. Because sometimes there's discharge and then people tend to use it. So this, I would not recommend instilling it in your ear pin without the advice of your doctor. But for the other things, you can always use it. For flatulence and cold cough, you can just crush it and take it with honey twice or thrice a day. Again, excess of honey tends to cause bad breath, and sometimes some people get ulcers. So make sure you don't make an excess of it. Jaifal is again something we all keep it in the kitchen. You can take a pinch of it. This is a very popular remedy for diarrhea in children. Pinch of the powder with milk, you give it to children. Then abdominal pain, also 20 ml decoction is prepared. Now, when you have abdominal pain, again, it's best to get it diagnosed. The diagnosis here is important. Get it diagnosed by your doctor before going in for any of these home remedies. Not all of these home remedies can be directly practiced. Sometimes the diagnosis is more important, Drugs are the easy part of it. Diagnosis is important. Lavang. Now, this is one of the favorites, whenever you're having a slight throat irritation, always take the lavang first. It has good antibacterial properties. It will, if it's in the initial stages, it will get resolved. And if you're also taking it with honey for cold and cough, hiccup, toothache, everybody knows about it. Crushed clove should be, kept there for toothache and all. Bad breath, we are always using it. People with bad breath, they generally keep some lavang in their mouth. That's it. I guess I finished pretty just in time. What is the time?
Thank you, Jyoti. I think you can take a few questions for those who have any doubts or would like to ask anything.
Yeah, sure.
To Dr. Jyoti.
Yes, Jyoti is fine.
Yes, I have a question, Jyoti.
Yes, sure. Supriya, madam.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, is there anything like a proper time for having fruits in the day? Because sometimes I've read some articles and I was saying that, you have it in the morning and not in the evening or just in the afternoon or something like that.
I think you are sorry, go ahead. Sorry, finish.
And the other thing is, in Ayurveda, like people say that there are certain foods which you can take before sunset and certain foods are prohibited to be taken after sunset, something like that.
Yes, so the first question, I think you would be a better answer because you are a dietitian. So
no, that way it is different. In your this thing,
Ayurvedic
science, I would like to.
Yeah. So about the prohibited foods, generally late night, say for example, the dals. Urad dal is supposed to be heavier than the moong and masoor dal. So we generally avoid taking urad dal for dinner. Urad dal, chana dal, these are heavier to digest. So if you are eating something late in the night, avoid heavy food. Then, even curds and curds and things come under a classification called abhishandi. So these curds and dahi kind of things are avoided late in the night. They're supposed to be taken in the daytime only. So that is one about the timing of the food. About fruits, recommended time, generally it's better to take it before the meals. But there is no hard and fast rule to it. I mean, for example, a lot of people like to take fruits before the meal. So if you are a diabetic, for example, having the fruits earlier, fruits or even salads before your meals, you're filling your stomach with a lot more of things which are with less of carbs. You're taking less of rice and chapati. So that is always better. So before meals is a good time to have fruit. But then
And
if
something like
somebody is used
Yes.
to having it in the evenings, it really doesn't matter because you're not having fruits like as a complete meal. You're having maybe one apple or two apples and one guava. So it is okay taking it even in the evening. That's not.
And combining fruits with milk.
Yeah, some of them are not to be combined. Like maybe apple, you can combine it with milk. But not all fruits can be combined with milk. I know we have a lot of milkshakes and all. Ayurveda usually prohibits them from combining with milk. So that is one.
The reason is, what is the reason for that?
Reason, it'll go into a long answer. I guess I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, reason is like properties of it are, what we say contradictory. So which is why we avoid. So like, for example, banana and milk is allowed. But some of the fruits which have a kind of acid, you wouldn't combine orange with milk, right?
That you normally wouldn't.
We wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Dr. Jayati?
Yeah. Shailesh.
Shailesh here.
Yeah. Shailesh, yeah.
I've got a question. You talked of Rutucharya, which is season and the associated food and fruits during a particular season.
Right.
But in today's time, we get preserved fruits, I mean, the year around. Like you can have mangoes in December.
Yeah.
So is it advisable to have that kind of a...
No, I think seasonal fresh fruits are always advisable, not the preserved ones. Like for example, even if you think anything that is some things like even one more point, yeah, fruits, anything that is seasonal should be taken, not the preserved ones, especially the preserved chemicals and all that. No, not at all. You get those canned mangoes also all around the year. So no, that is never recommended.
And the addendum to that question would be, how about non-local fruits? Like say a generation back, we did not know about kiwi and avocado and all these kind of exotic fruits. Right. And today everyone swears by those fruits.
Yeah. So
is the Indian Constitution really ready for this kind of a diet?
That I think is a difficult question, but what we generally say is whatever is local, you should eat. If you're eating something local, nothing is going to happen to your health. But we don't know what these foods are bringing to us. So far, nothing grossly wrong has happened. But we don't know whether, like, when you go to buy apples also nowadays, from the local fruit wala, he will say, this is imported apple. I said, you give me local, I don't want imported. So it's not that the imported is coming with some extra flavors, you can have the local stuff. People are swearing by broccoli now. Is it that our vegetables don't have the nutrients that is required? I'm sure our local vegetables always have the nutrients. One more thing, like, so fruits, we generally say that, no, the seasonal ones are best. But in the term of grains, the aged grains are better. So like whenever you go to buy basmati rice, the older it is, any rice. Why? Because the carbohydrate, they are dried. They get dried. So the carbohydrate and the starch content in those rice gets lesser. So those, the older you have them is better. So in fact, for diabetes, we usually recommend that you have basmati rice is very low in glycemic index compared to the other rices. All the other rices have a higher glycemic index, and basmati rice comes in the mid GI level. So that is always recommended. Even basmati rice, you should take the aged ones, aged grains. What mothers used to buy, with the ones which are darker in color, the rice, which is darker in color and it doesn't have that whitish tinge around it. Those are the better ones. So grains always prefer the aged ones, but vegetables and fruits, it should always be the seasonal fresh ones.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hi Joyiti, this is Boyuna here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not calling you Dr. Goswami. I just
Yeah, she's my classmate. Nobody need to call me doctor. It's embarrassing. Jyoti is fine.
yeah, Joyiti, now I'll just continue with Sailesh's point about local fruits. See, there are a lot of these imported fruits that are now grown locally.
Hmm.
Like you mentioned, broccoli and kiwi. Now, is it okay to have them? Is it something that we should avoid? I mean,
No,
I don't know.
no, I think it's very much okay. So, like, life in general should not have. So, these are just pointers and guidelines. Life should not have so many hard and
Mm.
fast rules that it becomes difficult. So, you like strawberry,
Yeah.
it grows locally, and
Mm.
not having it
Yeah.
is probably not the right thing. So, yes, we should have it.
Okay. Thank you. Just one more question.
Hello.
I mean,
Yeah.
we do have just one more question.
Yes.
As far as diabetes is concerned, which is one of the, we are the largest number of diabetic patients around, and I'm one of them. Ayurveda, since it is a lifestyle disease, Ayurveda seems to be a good way to kind of, bring out a change in your lifestyle.
Yes.
So, can you just put some light on the kind of foods a diabetic person should or could, follow?
Yeah, sure. So that's one of my favorite questions, actually, diabetes. So diabetes, Ayurveda is very much, they have given a lot of nice shlokas in Ayurveda, which says, Asya Sukham Swapna Sukham Dadini Gramya Adakanu Prasaha Payansi, Navanagaran. So which actually means that people who tend to eat a lot of heavy foods, who tend to sleep in the afternoon. Swapna Sukham means people who are sleeping in the afternoon. Then they're having an excess amount of curds. Then having a sedentary life. Asya Sukham basically means sedentary life. People living sedentary lifestyles. They generally tend to have more of diabetes. So as per Ayurveda, so some of the herbs for regular, taking is like this Aula. Like I already mentioned, Aula, Triphala in different forms. Then diet, try to include more of millets into it. So rice and wheat are rich in carbs. So try to include more of millets. So all the millets that you see, there are different kind of millets. What we call sorghum, jawar, bajri. Then even you have that varai. Varai rice is called little millet. It is very popular in Maharashtra at least.
The
So
foxtail
varai
millet
rice.
that you're talking about.
Which one?
The foxtail millet.
Foxtail is
I mean,
different. Foxtail is different. Varai is called foxtail millet. Also, you can have. Varai is called little millet. So it's just like rice. It's a small kind of dana. It looks like that rice dana. It is not rice. You can substitute your rice with that varai rice. And it's easy
Okay.
to cook, so you don't have to make a major change. So following a diabetic diet becomes difficult because if everybody's eating something and you're eating something else, it becomes difficult to follow. So the easiest way is just have a bowl of varai instead of, or that little millet, instead of rice or chapatis. And it tastes, especially for Bengalis, it tastes. It may not taste.
Joyiti,
Yeah.
I can see a few more hands up. I think you'll have to answer their queries also. I can see Barna's hand raised, and I can see Kalyani.
Yeah.
So quickly we could have questions from them also.
Okay, sure.
Barna?
Hello. Yeah, so Dr. Jyoti, just a very small question. You've already answered a bit about diabetes. Are there any specific do's and don'ts for somebody who has a liver condition?
Yes.
Food.
Yes, liver condition. I mean, if it is so liver hepatitis and all, there are a lot of herbs which have been proved in Ayurveda for, Phyllanthus neruri and all those herbs which have a good, results in liver condition. But depends again on what is the liver condition. Based on that.
Okay, so like it's a NASH, it's NASH, and what are the food items that I should include or not include? regular food items?
Yeah, so again, that is it's a very detailed thing which requires an assessment. Again, like I'll go back to Prakriti. So Ayurveda emphasizes a lot on Prakriti. Based on the Prakriti, we can, so things, the generic things like Sunt and all that is useful for anyone. It's not going to harm anybody. You can always take that. But getting into full details about it it's kind of a, we'll have to really assess this person, the Prakriti and all that, and then give a recommendation. But yeah, there are a lot of good herbs and good remedies for liver conditions in Ayurveda. Yeah. Yeah. Kalyani.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, Kalyani.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Hi,
I can-
ma'am. I want to ask just a little thing. After what is the ideal time for having fruits? I mean, daily seasonal fruits. It means after meal or after dinner or at the time of the breakfast. What I will suggest as the ideal time of it having.
You can have it any time that suits you. I mean, there is no hard and fast rule. Before meals is fine. So if you're kind of overweight and you're looking at losing weight, I would say you have it before meals so that you are intaking less of carbohydrates in your meals and reducing your weight. You can have it for dinner also. Just have fruits for dinner. That's also fine. So generally, after a certain age, your body metabolism goes lesser. Then I mean, we usually substitute one meal for fruit after say 40 or 50. We don't need to eat the
Acha.
regular meal of chapati, rice, dal, sabji and all.
Acha.
You can substitute one
Acha.
meal with fruits and that works perfectly fine for your health overall.
Okay. So we can have fruit for dinner also. Means I
Yes,
can
yes.
have.
Yes, you can.
Thanks. Thanks. So any specific kind of a fruit or normal seasonal fruit? Like,
Normal
can I
seasonal
have grapes or cucumber in the at the dinner time? No.
Yes, you
Or
can, unless you are a
oranges.
diabetic. Unless you're a diabetic, you should
I'm a
have.
diabetic actually.
Yeah, so grapes again it should be restricted.
Acha. Okay. Okay.
I think,
Thanks.
Jyoti, you were quite, I mean, you have cleared a lot of myths also, which at least I was not aware of, like how Panchakarma is advocated and advertised
Yeah.
by all the Ayurvedic centers. How there is a myth that Ayurvedic medicines do not have a side effect. How each and every person has a different prakriti and the treatment options in Ayurveda will be decided by that. And how we are like, I being a practitioner of allopathy, but we say that everything has side effects, but it is also true for Ayurveda that the medicines do have side effects and they should not be taken like over the counter without consulting a proper doctor. So that was really nice how you went through the entire talk and dispelled many of the myths and gave us good information which we were not aware of. And we are really thankful that you could make time and give the talk on this auspicious occasion of Bashanta Panchami. And whatever has been recorded, please upload it so that those
Yes, yes.
participants who could not make it can see the video.
Okay. Upload it. Should I share it with you?
Yeah, share it with me.
Okay, I'll share it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone
Thank you
for
so
listening
much.
in. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jyoti.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Urmi, for
Vayona.
arranging
Thanks,
something so
ma'am.
good.
Thanks, Vayona. Yeah, take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.